But, I said, surely you are not quite correct, for you start on the assumption that all the poor people, or their spirits, will have to take their tombstones with them on the day of judgment. Do you think that will be really necessary? Well, what else be the tombstones for? Answer me that, miss. To please their relatives, I suppose. To please their relatives, you suppose? This he said with intense scorn. How will it pleasure their relatives to know that lies is wrote over them, and that everybody in the place knows that they be lies? He pointed to a stone at her feet which had been laid down as a slab, on which the seat was rested, close to the edge of the cliff. Read the lies on that thrust-screen, he said. The letters were upside down to me from where I sat, but Lucy was more opposite to them, so she leant over and read, "Sacred to the memory of George Cannon, who died in the hopes of a glorious resurrection, on July 29, 1873, falling from the rocks at Kettleness. This tomb was erected by a sorrowing mother to her dearly beloved son. He was the only son of his mother, and she was a widow. Really, Mr. Swales, I don't see anything very funny in that." She spoke her comment very gravely and somewhat severely. "You don't see aught funny, ha ha, but that's because you don't gom the sorrowing mother was a hellcat that hated him because he was a crooked, a regular lavater, he was, and he hated her so that he committed suicide in order that she mightn't get an insurance she put on his life. He blew nigh the top of his head off of an old musket that they had for scaring the crows with. 'Twarn't for crows then, for it brought the clegs and the dopes to him. That's the way he fell out the rocks. And, as to hopes of a glorious resurrection, I've often heard him say mazel, and he hoped he'd go to hell, for his mother was so pious that she'd be so sure to go to heaven, and he didn't want to addle where she was. Now isn't that Steen at any rate?" He hammered it with his stick as he spoke. "A pack of lies. And won't it make Gabriel cackle when Geordie comes panting up the grease of the tombstone balanced on his hump, and asks it to be took as evidence?"